And we're live. Yes. Uh,
Yeah, I can see.
cool. One person already watching, which is like
That's Bharat, the
50% of
one.
our audience. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Just yeah. Okay. We'll just start off. Hello and welcome to episode 77 of the DissContent podcast. And I'm Aditya Khanna. With me are Himanshu Arya,
Hi.
Bharat Misra,
Hello.
and we have a very special guest joining us. Her name is Nitya Misra. Nitya, hi.
Hi.
So you'll have to give audio cues for everything because you're also putting it like audio. So we will have to. This is what I have to remind Bharat every time because we have to say hi. We usually just wave at each other. So yeah, with that we can start the episode. But a little bit of an introduction for Nitya, and you can correct me if I have to add or delete anything. Which is Nitya is actually a friend of ours from college. She was in our batch in Pune, and ever since then, I guess from graduation, she has been working in Bangalore in advertising, in ad filmmaking specifically. And over that period of time, she's also made a couple of short films. The latest one of which has actually gone to a few festivals as well. I don't know if the earlier one had also. So yeah. She also does music. You have a music page, right? Like what is that called?
It's called Milta. It's my music project. So I've
Nice.
been making music for a while. So I thought I'd just start putting it out.
So that's what Nitya does, and we're actually very excited to talk to her because firstly, we haven't really spoken much since since college got over, and secondly, we just want to congratulate her on the short film, the which is called The Salon, right?
Yes.
Um, right. And can people watch it right now? Because if they can, then we'll add a link for it.
No, it's not up anywhere as yet.
Okay. So whenever that will be up, you guys can follow up with that, and we can give you a link for that as well. But let's just start off right off the bat. You've been working in advertising, and also you've been making your short films. So the latest one, where did that come from, and what gets you to be, because I'm sure like advertising is so hectic normally and takes up so much time. Like, how do you find the time to do your own passion projects?
So actually, I was right after college. I was working with a production house, Nirvana Films, and I was there for I think over 4 years. I went independent like uh, more than a year ago. So it's been a year. So I don't like actively, I'm not actively in advertising right now. Like I freelance, do a couple of projects here and there. But right now I'm sort of just focusing on writing my own stuff. So I think especially when you work in-house in a production house, I think finding that time is pretty hard. So I'm not sure how that would really work out. I think you do have to take a step away, and then if you're making your own films, that's how you have to do it.
How was that journey for you? Because I mean, I also followed a similar path, right? I was also in a similar industry, and then a couple of years back I quit. How was that jump for you? Because for me, I mean, apart from finances and everything, also when I was quitting, I was not sure of my own voice because for the past 4 or 5 years, I've been working in one kind of setup with one kind of people with one kind of mindset. How was it? How was that jump for you? Were these questions there or were not? Were you? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you've done it, you would know how hard that, just figuring that whole space out is. Um, Especially when you're trying to make your own stuff. And I'm sure like all of you relate to that. It's like, what am I trying to say? And what kind of filmmaker am I? And all of that. So sorry, what was the question, Bharat?
The question was, how was that jump like from being in a certain place to going independent?
So on one hand, it was really, really exciting because I think I've known that, I want to give this some time, like making my own work. I want to give it the time that it needs. So it was really exciting to do that. But on the other hand, it's very scary, in a lot of ways because it's this huge world out there. And sometimes you wonder, like, these stories you're trying to tell, is there any point in telling them? How are you going to tell them? Who's going to watch them? Those kind of things. So I think it's both. It's scary and exciting.
No, I just have a question related to that. Do you find that is in today's sort of, we're very overexposed now, right? Like that I feel like that for me personally, when I'm writing a short, because I've also been trying to make one, that's the biggest problem, because you want to commit to a story, but you keep learning more things about stuff these days, right? So how do you commit to one idea for a very long time? Because I'm assuming from thinking of an idea to like actually making the shot and sort of putting it out there, it's a very long time. And these days, like the thrill of validation, I feel like partially the reason we put out like this podcast is because we were working on stuff and things don't really come out as often. So you need that little, like that little hit, right? So how do you manage that? Sorry for that heavy fucking dark ass question, but yeah.
She has a newsletter, right? I think you kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
Yeah,
divided
Nitya
between the
does a lot of
newsletter,
stuff. That's true.
then those vlogs on the Instagram, on the Instagram,
Which are like
and
short films themselves, I would say, the way I see it.
and they're very fun. I think the newsletters are amazing. I have to read them properly,
I have not read.
and it's nice. And I think like I've seen her, she puts out a lot of things over a period of a month. Like I think one newsletter to aata hi hai, right?
No. I think I'm not that frequent with it, but yeah, I think it's more like whenever I feel like doing it, I do it. There's no sort of pressure to put it out every month kind of thing. But yeah, I think so. One part of your question, Aditya, was that should I call you Aditya? Can I call you Khanna? Like,
You can call me Khanna, it's fine. Just for context, nobody in my real life has ever called me Aditya from the age of 3. Everyone just calls me Khanna outside.
actually being formal here.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
So the first part of your question was one is that timeline between when you write something or when you have an idea till you actually make it. Yeah, I think it constantly evolves. Like you watch one movie today, then you watch one movie tomorrow, and you're like, wow, this is, I mean, like it really, really changes with the amount of information that's coming at you constantly. But that's okay. I think that's the good part of it. Like it's okay to change your idea. It's okay to change the script as it goes along. I don't think you have, like, I'm sure the seed of the idea or the main story usually stays the same. Like you think of something and that one thing, that one connection is the reason you want to make something, and everything around it could change maybe, but that one idea maybe stays the same. Do you think that happens?
I do agree.
No, yeah, I think for me as well, because in the past actually 2-3 months I've been writing a lot of stuff, and none of them which I want to make into shorts, but none of them sort of stick by. And that's the thing, my core idea often changes, but yeah, in the ones that remain, the core idea never moves. You're right, that always stays the same.
Yeah.
Or the way I write is, I feel like I think about a story which is very like big production value story. I write it down and then I realize I can't make it. So I feel like I need to write something a little more manageable. And then that second thing that I write, that gets made. That's what I push to make properly on my own. Because I think, ye to main banai dunga. This I can just make. I don't have to like put in a lot of money and effort into this. So this, for every movie that gets made, there's another that dies. and I have a lot of scripts that are just kept ki wo to kuch nahi hone wala uska.
Yeah.
Also, like all of us sort of have been making short films for short film's sake. Like we've been like a lot of the stuff that at least me and Himanshu I know, and what Himanshu also been doing, we just do it as like a release. It just need to do it, because otherwise nobody is gonna let you sort of direct something which unless your name is Bharat Misra, they're not gonna let you like direct shows. Which, by the way, Bharat, your couple of shorts released this week.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah,
Tell
I mean,
people also, no? Tell people.
they're all.
Congratulations on that, Bharat. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm excited to.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's mostly commissioned work. It's mostly people who have come to me with a story or a concept, and I've made them into however good products I could. So it's essentially a part of an anthology of stories around the armed forces. And the idea is that since it's supposed to be low budget and we don't have like a budget to actually show war, so why don't we focus on the family aspect of it, the people who are not primarily in these forces but people who are affected by war.
Back at the barn approach, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just that side of the story, Meanwhile, back at the barn, that's it. That's your story. You don't go to the battlefield. So we try to interestingly show that, for example, one story has a father who has PTSD, but we never mention it because we can't. So, and he has PTSD, and he has to bond with his son who's grown distant in the time that he's been away. But the way to, bond with him is to play this video game, which is super violent and which reminds him of, his trauma. So it's kind of finding interesting ways to make it be about the forces and the army and the war, but not quite. So I mean, yeah, that is the interest. You can check these out on Dice Media.
Called?
So one is called, again, I didn't name them. One is called Sarhad Ke Baad Bhi, and the other is called Veera. And these are two short films which you can find on Dice Media India's channel. And yeah, I've directed them.
Oh, so Nitya, just coming back to your recent short, which actually the three of us watched on the which film festival was that?
Art House Asia.
Yes, we watched on that website, and we really enjoyed the short as well. Like I'm usually a fan of shorts which are made in, just to give our viewers some context, which is it's a film. Actually, Nitya, why don't you tell us? Like,
exactly,
because I might spoil something or the other. So yeah.
So it's a film about a woman who gets a haircut.
That's a great. That is a great log line for that, actually. Didn't think of that. But yeah, so that was a very good short film. Tell us a little bit about that. Like, where do you get the idea for that, and how did you make it? And what we are also very interested in, our audience will be interested, is how do you bootstrap your own short film and sending it to festivals, casting, all of that. Tell us about that whole, the really rigorous process of it all.
Yeah, sure. Okay, to start off with, I just want to say that this particular short was produced by this production house called UA Katachitra, which is owned by my uncle. So there was a lot of like there was that one part of it that was taken care of, because I didn't have to really get into the hectic part of fundraising for this one, for this particular one, which was really such a, I mean, I don't think everyone gets that opportunity, and I just want to sort of acknowledge that, because that is honestly one of the hardest parts, right, of making films, is just financing it. So I just want to say that at the beginning. The idea of the film came from, I was once at this parlor, I was getting a haircut, and there was this lady sitting next to me, and she was talking to a hairstylist, and they were having like the most intimate conversation ever. And I was kind of curious about what they were talking about. And it was just like, they were totally having a heart to heart, there in the middle of the day in this salon. So, that those two characters sort of stuck with me. And later on, I was in some situation with some aunt of mine, and she had lost her husband. And she was talking about how grief hits you at very odd times. Like, she was talking about how she once went to the dentist, and he was like extracting her tooth, or was going to extract her tooth, and she just burst into tears, and he was like, is everything okay? And she's like, no, my husband died. So she was just like talking about how it just comes out, and it'll come out 6 months later in a very unexpected way. So those two ideas sort of stayed with me, and when I was writing the script, it became a lot about that setting, with the idea of dealing with grief, and a haircut being a way to sort of represent grief. Yeah.
No, that's great. And I think everyone should check out this film whenever you choose to put it out, or wherever you choose to put it out, because it's a very, what I really liked about it was the ability to compact such a strong idea into one location and only a couple of characters, and it never feels like, the dialogue felt crisp, and it never feels overbearing. Like, it never gets to a point where you feel like the filmmaker is trying to force something down my throat. It felt very, very organic, which as you said was the point, right? It comes at not time, and that was pretty spot on, I thought.
Right. Yeah, I think it was So that's what I'm saying, about the core of the idea that we
Hmm.
were talking about earlier. I think when that's there, everything sort of falls into place. Of course, things changed a lot as I was writing it till when we made the film. But I think that core idea did stay the same.
Is that lady a professional actress?
Yeah, she's actually a big actress in the Kannada film industry.
Oh,
Oh,
Her name is
Can you
Sudha.
tell her sorry?
Her name is Sudha Virwadi. She is Prakash Virwadi's sister.
okay.
She's quite popular in the Kannada film industry.
so yeah, tell us about, because a lot of people were curious about this. Like, tell us about how you go from, even if you get funding, right? How did you go about your casting process, and also the whole process of, okay, I'm gonna shoot why in a saloon, and all of that, and then getting the process of asking a saloon how does it work in the real world? Like, do you just go up to a random salon, or do you like hire a place which is expensive? But
Yeah. So, because I was in advertising for so long, and just like doing film production, I was an AD, and I think that really really helped with, like, that was some solid training.
Hmm.
So even when it came to casting, I had done that so extensively in the previous years. Like, I've done a lot of casting in my life. I've called the most random people up, and like ask them to be in random ads and stuff. So that part was okay, because it's just something that I've done a lot. Even with locations and stuff, I got the location for free. I don't know how it worked out, but I think I must have gone to like some 30-40 salons in Bangalore, asking if I can shoot there, and if it is also like a space you can shoot at.
Yeah.
And I found this one, and I thought it was like, it looked nice. Somehow ended up, you do jugaad and you somehow get the place. And thankfully, I didn't have to. I got the location for free, so that was like a huge sort of cost that was not. I mean, that was off the
Hmm.
uh,
and the
whatever.
casting process, like, because she's a famous actress, you said, so how did
Yeah,
you approach her?
I somehow got her number from someone, and with casting, I always feel that you kind of look at someone and you get a vibe. I don't know if
Mm.
this is like, I don't know if everyone approaches it like this, but you sometimes just look at someone and you're like, okay, this person might sort of fit, and all of that. So I had got her number, and I sent her the script. She read it and she liked it, so she agreed to do the film.
Hey, that's pretty cool.
How long did it take for you to shoot it?
I shot it in one day.
Oh,
It's a
Wow.
damn.
I know why.
Really?
I couldn't.
Because the budget. You can't rent the equipment for another day. The cost doubles. The budget of the short film doubles because it's a short film.
This is Himanshu's PTSD from when we used to shoot together, shoot stuff together.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially in, like, so I mean, it was a big learning process for me also, because I think I approached shooting this film very much in a commercial way, because I've just been doing ads for so long. I A lot of the production stuff, a lot of ways that I also sort of walked into it was very much how you do ads, which is good in terms of organization. But I think with fiction and these kind of scripts, you need to have more breathing room. You need to have more
Yeah.
time. You have to have a lot more time, I think. Yeah.
Hmm.
I
Do you
think
have more ideas? Do you have more scripts in the pipeline?
Yeah, too many, and no idea how to get them made.
I
Nice.
think for me, while I was watching it, I mean, I liked it because I thought that it did not fall into the usual characterizations. If you look at the story, it's a simple story, and I can imagine it being done a very typical way. Okay, this character is like this, and this character is like this, and this is the change this character brings in this person's life. But I felt that it was not easy to put these characters, even though it's just a 12-minute film, right? You
Yeah.
can't put the lady into a box because you see sides of her, even in that small conversation, which are unsavory, which are not you can't compartmentalize her into a good character.
Yeah.
And the same goes for the barber. So I found that very interesting. I found that was the part that stood out to me.
He's a stylist, Bharat.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was an interchangeable term. No, isn't that like
Kya
an
bata?
olden? Acha. No. So actually, I find one common theme between Nitya's work because just for more context to people, we were in, as I said, we were in college together. We actually made our degree films at the same time, and I found Nitya's to be one of the best of our batch because it had such clarity, which was called those They Fly. No, sorry.
Keep
You
float
float
on.
on.
We Float On. Yes, We Float On. And it was, I guess you can watch that on YouTube now.
Yeah. It's on YouTube. On the SIMC page, it's credited as Vineet Srinivasan's the director, but
Why is Vineet
What?
the director
Why is
on it?
Vineet?
I don't know if it's still there, but at some point there was some this is
Wow. Okay.
So as Ghatne na doing his thing. Okay, shouldn't have said that now.
Yeah, probably not. But anyway, so so you can watch We Float On because Nitya's previous film, as if you watch it, and I would highly recommend that you do, it had this touch of banality, and this like not keeping in a very overt conflict out there, which is what, like, at least for me personally, when I'm writing, I can't write without conflict. Like, I just need something to be like breaking down all the time. I am not able to write. So I really appreciate that about her work, and I think that's also important for people who want to make their own short films. In my limited knowledge, that you should be very clear on what you like to watch and what you like to like, because a lot of people try to do a little bit of everything. Like, it always makes me laugh when short filmmakers, even if you like, we might be very indie idiots, okay, but like, there are lots of people who are really into very conventional like Bollywood or and they try to replicate that in their short films, and I think that will never work because that cannot be your voice, because you don't have that voice. I feel requires money. So unless you can find an ingenious way to do something around that, it doesn't work. So I personally feel like everyone has to, in a short film, to show their chops, in a sense, like just sort of show off that this is what I can tell better than anybody else. And Nitya does like banal sort of moments really well, which is very hard to pull off because
Yeah.
everything is put upon, right? Nothing is banal about a film set, but to convert that into something in emotion like that, I think is pretty fucking cool.
But Nitya, I have a request. Like, if we are talking about it, I would actually want to share the movie.
Yeah.
I've seen it, and it's a very good movie.
but
Is
festival
there
में
any
accept
way
नहीं होता
to?
है, if you
हाँ.
But yeah.
Is there no way to like share it with the audience, like, pay-per-view or something?
So, okay, that is another part of making films, is what do you do with your film once you make the film. Okay, so you spend all this time writing your film, you spend all this time actually making it, which is, as you know, not filmmaking is not easy, right? It's really, really hard work, and sometimes like, why are we putting in all this effort?
Adventure sport. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and once you make your film, you have this finished product, and especially with short fiction films, I find not many places to put it. And that's something that we are trying to figure out right now. So one part is that, with this whole festival submission thing, you can't submit to festivals if your film is already available online.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's so I think we'll have to figure out what to do with it once we're done with this whole festival circuit, which can last anywhere like between a year, 2 years, I think, from when you make a film. Depends, different
Yeah.
festivals is different. So with festivals, what happens is you get like some exposure and some validation, and of course, like all of that. But once it's done, like a film like this, where do you actually put it up?
I mean,
you can't really like monetize it. Like, it's when you make a short fiction film independently, like you write that off, just write off that. Like, it's not, you're not going to be able to make it back at all. It's like an expensive what's the word? Like, what's the right?
I would just highly recommend to anyone who does not intend on going to film school, but matlab, has the money to go to film school but doesn't go to film school, and you want to do something like this, maybe make a short film or something like that. Because I find like that, I mean, again, this is coming from a very privileged place, but it's still, I mean, I'm not one of those people who say don't go to film school, obviously, but I think that is one way. And Nitya is right, that's the hardest part of making a short film. I mean, it's great to make one, but then what do you do? There are some places that buy it, like a Hotstar has I believe a short section, or some of these OTTs also have it, but I mean, it's not realistic. I mean, unless you have like good connections, that doesn't work out.
Also, a lot of the like a lot of the channels and platforms that do have short films, it's usually like a big name attached to it.
Yeah.
There's some way to sort of sell it, right? So, like a film about a middle-aged woman and her hairstylist, I don't really know where that fits in. Yeah. But hopefully, let's see. I don't know. I don't really have an answer to that, Himanshu. I don't know how to share it at this point, like how to put it out.
I actually have a suggestion if you want to check it out. Shorted India has this pay-per-view thing. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I remember watching your film on Shorted, I think, one of your films.
So it's like you can put out your video if it's open to all. If you have put out your short film on YouTube, you can show it to everybody. वहाँ पे link आ जाएगा and you can watch. But if you want to put it up on an OTT platform, or if you want to put it up on a pay-per-view, like they have that system there as well. So if you put it up and you advertise, you put out a trailer or something, and you say, this is the link, you want to buy a ticket and pay-per-view or whatever, then you can do that also. Shorted mein hai, and then Shorted also you can apply for like OTT, and they put your film up on some sort of a platform where MX Player and Disney Hotstar and stuff, they come and they pick it. So one of our juniors, Pranoy, his film got on I think Disney plus Hotstar, which is a big deal. So I'm guessing he's monetizing it, right? So maybe there is some way, but even I haven't figured it out.
Yeah, I love how this episode is called "How to Make Your Short Film," and it's just like sadness about how to don't make though. Don't.
It's yeah, but it's a nice format. Like it's a really nice format to work with. I think short films and.
For me, I think what you guys were talking about, the core of the idea and all of that, right? I felt the closest to your core idea is always going to be a short film, because that the layers that you have to put on it are lesser, I would assume, because my idea is what? Like my idea is, okay, for example, if I were to describe, no, I can't describe Nitya's
You can't
film.
describe your idea. Huh?
No, not my idea. I was talking, but nobody else apart from us has seen Nitya's film. But I mean, you get the point, right? In a short film, you have to build less number of scenes or minutes beyond what is your core idea, which is why I feel short films are a good showcase of your talent. अभी मेरे को कोई feature का पैसा तो दे नहीं रहा है. So why not? Like the way I'm looking at making my own film is to take whatever little money that I've saved up and putting it into one short film and hoping that it's going to be the best short film I've ever made, or is just like the greatest thing out there. That is my hope. That is, I think, that is how you hope to make money out of it, right?
That's what I think, in my opinion. I mean, you make a short film out of hope that it will get you more work, not because of any other reason. Because I mean, also because you want to tell that story, but like just a personal example, because of my short film, I'm pretty sure I got a lot of work after college for writing and stuff like that, because I did not have any writing work and they tested me and all that. But whoever I've worked with, if they see my short, they're convinced that okay, you can at least write a 30-40 odd page script, So I think for anyone who wants to be a filmmaker, they should think of their short film. Anyone young, they should think of their short film as what actors think of their audition tapes or their headshots or whatever, and they also sink money into that stuff. So I think you should think of it in that sense.
Now that I remember, even I got my first job partly because of Shamsher. My boss liked Shamsher and he's like, this guy can make something. So I got my first job there. Nitya, do you have
Yeah.
something to add to that? Were you saying something and we?
No. I was.
Okay, cool.
What I was saying is that first, if you want to, first I want to say there are no spoilers in my film. So if you want to describe anything, in the film, nothing happens in the film, and like I think that's what I'm trying to do, like films in which nothing happens. But the other thing I was saying was, yeah, I think Khanna, you were talking about just like those moments and like doing banal stuff in films. And making things that you actually want to watch, or making things that you like. I mean, I think that applies to anything, like it applies to writing, it applies to films, it applies to music. You make what you like to listen to. I mean, I think that's a good guiding principle. But yeah, so I think I really love watching films, and like nothing, like there's nothing dramatic. Like it's small drama, but it's not like big drama. There are no plot twists and stuff. I remember in college, there was this point because we used to watch. So I mean, all of us used to. Everyone was just making films, and that was a really nice space to be watching everyone's work. But there was this thing that everyone used to have one plot twist where the person has some mental illness. Like that was so you're like, does this person have like a split personality, or like what is
Right.
starting up? And that seemed to be a theme. And I think Himanshu, your film,
Yeah.
one with Manik and Ashwin.
Yeah.
Kuwe ka Mendak.
Yeah, I loved it. I remember watching it. I was like, wow, no plot twist. It was so much fun watching that film. And I think that was, so I think I was quite inspired after watching that film. I think even with We Float On, I was like, yeah, it has to be something real about two people doing nothing, because that's what I feel a lot of my life has been, like there's a lot of like doing nothing. And I really,
Actually, that's true. People should check out Kuwe ka Mendak and We Float On. They make a very good double feature.
Yeah.
In that sense, right? There's the same
They
sort of
do.
thematic notes.
हाँ मैं आज जाऊंगा और मैं आज We Float On देखूंगा. I feel like I need to refresh my memory about it because I remember watching it in college and it was really fun.
Yeah.
It was and it had Shiv, Rohan in it, and who was the other guy?
Bilal
and Rohan. Yeah. Oh yeah, we shot. I was also in the behind the scenes.
You feature in the film, Himanshu, at some party scene, I think. Shooting for your degree, getting material.
And in my degree film, you featured, na?
Yeah. That's how it works. Once unrelated to the podcast, but once we'd gone for one job interview, after college. You remember the third year of college, people were like, companies hiring. So some agency was hiring in Bombay, and some 5 or 6 AD people have gone to Bombay like a picnic. Okay, we've all got very excited, gone to the same office for the same role. They sat in one room and interviewed us together. They were like, no point in interviewing them separately. They're like, what work have you done? So everyone's like, yeah, I did camera on whole film, I did sound on that one. All like that. And they're like, okay, cool. None of us got a job there. I mean, we went after that and we actually picnicked, I think.
Man, I remember that whole phase in our college of, the third year in our college was a lot of fun. Because everyone's just obsessed, at least in our 40 people of AV, which everyone was just about their movies. Someone's almost completed it. Someone's hasn't even fucking started. Somebody's already sent it and whatever. All of that. And there was a lot of excitement, all of that. And the moment college was about to end, everyone's entering the job market and the excitement that fucking died. I remember we had gone for an interview. I'll just share that story as well. Because the excitement that dies once you leave your college or your amateur space and enter the professional world is very like heart-wrenching. Okay, we went for my first interview, which was with a guy called fuck it,
say it.
called Mushtaq Sheikh, most popularly known for being Shah Rukh Khan's best friend. Okay, he's mostly known for he's written 2 books on Shah Rukh Khan with 2 different puns. One is Shah Rukh Khan and Still Reading Khan. These are These are the 2 books that he's written, because apparently one book wasn't enough to cover their tales.
What is Still Reading Khan?
SRK.
SRK, dude.
Oh,
Just out of nowhere. But yeah, so we went to him. First of all, for some reason, he was wearing a shirt down to like his butt. Anyway, button was like really low, man. I was like, fucking, just button yourself up. But yeah, so he took our interview and he was just asking such random shit. And he was actually asking some of us like, the like when you enter the mainstream industry in Bombay, I don't know in Bangalore, Nitya, but in Bombay, when you speak to regular people working in the industry, there is such a disdain for
Yeah.
indie or for you liking something alternative. Or like earlier it used to be the other way when the cultural hegemony was with the was with people like us, but when we came in, it flipped. So uh, earlier it was like, oh, if you watch like a lot of random international cinema, you're like cool. Now it's the reverse, I feel. It's like,
Yeah.
you're a shithead, get the fuck out of my office, like that was a disdain we felt. Like this guy was quizzing us about, oh, why did you like Vasepur more than Airlift or something like that, just random questions like that.
And he was
Yeah.
asking us, what will you do if I tell you to write something like TV? How will you deal with that situation? What will you write? And I think none of us got selected, right?
None of us. I think, never mind. Fuck it. I can't divulge too much. But yeah, that was. But I want to come back, Nitya. I want to come back to you a little bit, which is that you do a lot of stuff, right? Like the newsletter, the music.
Wait, now you have
films
to
and all of
tell
that.
us how to subscribe to your newsletter.
Yes, please.
Is that hard? Wait, why? What is the...
Arey, no, our audience won't
Our
know.
audience.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was a
We
tech.
can. So as soon as this podcast ends, we can add all those links. Nitya, please
Yeah.
do.
I
send
will
it to
send
that.
that across. Subscribe
Yes.
to my newsletter. I write about very random things, whatever I feel like writing about, but it's interesting. And
What
it's
is the newsletter called? For
It's
our
called the Nitya newsletter.
Nice. Great. And also follow Milta on Instagram, right?
Nitya,
Or
yeah, on Instagram.
Hey, tell us about your music. How was it
Yes.
and what's it about?
Did you do music for your film?
No, Raghav did music.
I actually checked and I
Oh.
saw Raghav's this thing.
Raghav is also another friend from college. As you can tell, we're very, very, very close. Not close knit, but we only pretty much work amongst each other. Yeah.
Yeah, I think at some point, okay, wait, firstly, I just want to say, Khana, that, that disdain you're talking about, I'm very guilty of being on the other side of it. A few years into working, some intern comes and like, yeah, like check out my short film. And so you're like, yeah, I'm cool. Yes. But no, but obviously it was just a passing phase. But yeah, with the newsletter and with the music, I think somewhere once you start working, especially in this industry, it's very fast paced. Once you get into it, you really get sucked into it. So I think that effort to actually do something that's your own thing, like things that you are interested in, and putting that out, if not consistently, at least attempted consistency, it becomes important. I think it's really helpful to do that, to also sort of curate what you are interested in and what you're trying to say. I think it really, really helps. So even like with this podcast, you guys have been doing it for a while now, and it's it's very impressive to have kept it up for this long, because especially when it's not like, it's like you said about validation and stuff, right? It's not like anyone's going to be constantly patting you on the back and saying like,
right,
no, it's not happening. but just the fact that you do it consistently, I think adds to something eventually.
You can read Bharat's face and tell how consistent
I am thinking that consistency is only Khanna in this, because
that is for a couple of reasons. One is Himanshu is in Guwahati, so he's doing his own thing, and Bharat is gallivanting here or there every now and then. So yeah, but no, I'm actually
anyway.
Yeah, you're the money maker in this relationship. I'm the sugar daddy. But no, the thing is, I personally find it's very important. If you want to, I met two kinds of people after we've left college. There are people who've sort of given up that whole dream of when we entered college and when we were in college of making movies, making your own movie, that whole grind thing. And there are others who justifiably so have completely delved into their work, and that is what they want to do. Even if that means never making a movie or stuff like that, they're doing their own creative sort of work in similar fields. So I personally find stuff like a podcast or a newsletter or stuff like that, I think is very critical to keep. The fact that the reason I wanted to start a podcast is because I miss talking about movies with my friends, like when we were in college, like you'd constantly be talking about stuff. So I think that sort of keeps you going a little bit more, keeps you wanting to watch more stuff, which in turn gives you more ideas. So it's sort of, I feel like it's important for anyone who still has that goal to somehow keep it alive one way or the other.
Dude, for me, the podcast, I come to it to talk to you guys because otherwise we don't really talk.
Hey, that's not a lie. That's
I mean, with Himanshu,
Ah.
Himanshu, this is my only interaction on this. There is no behind the scenes. This is it.
Bharat and I have interactions about Himanshu when
Yeah.
we were interacting with each other.
We get drunk and talk about the time.
Talk
when
shit
we used-
about Himanshu when he used to be our friend in real life also. I'm joking.
The issues are coming out here.
Yeah.
Nitya, you can be the therapist today.
Yeah. Another profession to add to your list. But yeah. No, but there's one thing I wanted to ask you. So Bharat and I both work in Bombay. I'm writing shows. Bharat's writing and directing some stuff. You have been working in the advertising industry. I'm assuming right now you're not actively full-time working, but do you have any intention now of not just making a short film, but also transitioning into working in fiction full-time as a writer or as something else?
Yeah, I think I'm very open to that. Ads is something that I don't know. It's something that I started off with, so it's something that I'm continuing. I'm still figuring it out, basically. But yeah, I think working in fiction is a space that I want to be in, more actively. So yeah, that's.
And so how do you look at advertising? Did you like that whole, I know this is a very loaded question because who the fuck likes advertising, but like, sorry, but I just have anyway. So how do you look at that stuff, like, because you said that it taught you a lot in terms of working on a set. So for someone who's just starting out, would you recommend working in advertising, or considering how many digital outlets are there, just sort of jumping into this,
To be honest, I can't comment on the digital space because I have not worked in it. With ads, I don't know how I got into it. I got into it, but it was always, I sort of earlier had this very naive view that ads are bad and all of that. But I think because of where I worked at and the people I worked with, I learned a lot in terms of film craft, which I think is another very important part of filmmaking. I mean, of course, you have your writing and you have your ideas and stuff, but I think film craft is something that I really, really learned. In addition to film production and working on a set and making things happen. So in that way, how I feel about advertising is I want to explore other things too, because I don't think at this point I'm very interested in only making ads. But I don't hate it.
No, so I'll actually agree with that a little bit. But no, because I had a brief stint at an ad agency when I just graduated, like about 4 or 5 months I worked there. And that is true, that one thing about the film craft thing, because the budgets are so big, and because you are incentivized for something to look as good as possible, right? To stretch that to the limit, the effect of the images, right? And I found that they are very open to experimenting on the visual front. So whether it's a device that you might not otherwise get to work on in a film or a short film or whatever, you will get the best of the lenses, you will get the best of the equipment usually in ads. So I think to just get yourself used to that, in to using those kind of things and understanding how the equipment and even the post process works in because it's very grueling, right? In advertising, the post is very grueling, the post production.
usually quite tight. So,
Right.
but one more thing I think is a point. I guess we don't have to worry about it. Independent filmmakers don't have to worry about it for a long time. But when you have money, how do you spend it? Like, how do you spend it well? And I think being in an ad space or being specific, I'm not saying that all production houses work like that, but the one that I worked at really did. I think it really, it really teaches you uh, how to know where to spend money and how to spend money well. Like when you're putting in your own money, your intention always is to spend like to save as much as possible, right? You're trying to make things happen with as little money as possible.
Yeah.
In the hope that you get a larger budget, how do you know how to work with it? Like how do you know where to spend that, how to spend it well, how to look out for the best things you can. I think those things are also quite important to know.
Actually, like, I mean, I also think that apart from casting, getting a crew, man. I mean, if honestly, if you're making a short film, if you have a solid editor and a camera person and a sound person, I mean, your life is sorted, because nothing works. I mean, half the pressure is gone off, because I think for amateur filmmakers, like whatever I've experienced, and I think half the struggle is for just what is being recorded, what is being shot, and what is being heard to look and sound good. Just cross the bare minimum of what is considered watchable, So I think that if once you have that sorted, your ideas are also communicated much better.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, when your production value increases, it does become like more accessible. Like if you have bad audio, no, it's hard to watch a film. If you have shaky audio, unless it's an intentional part of the treatment, it's hard to watch the film. So yeah, I think like knowing how to add production value is important.
Even when you don't have money, and like especially sound, as you said, sound, it's the most ignored part of the filmmaking process in amateur setups usually. So yeah.
I also think, I mean, Nitya can correct me if it's not right. That's not the case for her, but for me, having worked in that industry has now given me the confidence to go to 10 people and say, listen, will you do this for me? So at least for my first feature or my first film or my first short film, I can go to this cinematographer I know and I trust with visuals. Ki yaar, just do this film for me. And I can go to this editor and they will probably do it for me for a price that they wouldn't otherwise. Right? At least with your first film, you can pull those kind of favors, having been in this industry. I don't know if that works the same with you, Nitya.
Are you ever tempted to come make the trip to Bombay, or is that something that you're not in the favor of?
I have a love-hate relationship with Bombay. But yeah, I think I am planning to. I'm very confused about what to do, but that's another conversation. Himanshu, you didn't want to do the Bombay thing at any point? Or did you? Were you in Bombay?
Did you, Himanshu? Himanshu, please tell us about that.
This is interesting.
Tell me, Himanshu.
I was in Bombay. No, I was there for 1 year or a little more than 1 year. And looking in hindsight, I don't think I applied anywhere. I didn't put in the effort. And Aditya keeps calling me up and he keeps telling me, I didn't do anything. Like I was there chilling. And I ended up making a movie with Aditya and Bharat.
We made 2 films.
We made 2 films and we were mostly thinking about making more. And yeah, but I didn't do the things that you guys did, which is applying for jobs and stuff. And after a point, I was trying to shoot for some things like Film Companion ke saath thoda bahut I tried, but then after a point I came back. I was like, I can't. Actually, the thing is, I'll be Aditya and Bharat know about this. I think I wasn't ready. I had no idea, no clue what I was doing, and at that time, like I didn't know what to say. Only I didn't know what to ask people. I didn't know how to talk to people. I was still a kid.
I don't think वो ऐसा कोई problem है. First of all, fuck you. Okay, it's just a thing of patience. You just have to wait for a little bit. Like you can't up and bounce.
तो मुझ में भी मतलब it was not. We were
none of us had that.
We were in the same position as you, right? So I don't think it's about readiness. I think it's about, I don't know, like temperament.
See, I remember applying for jobs, going for interviews, and not getting selected. I thought, what am I gonna do? And I'm sitting at my house.
That happened to me.
That happened that it still happens to me every now and
हाँ
then.
भाई, but I
हाँ.
was quite alone here in Goregaon.
Okay,
You guys
fair
know,
enough.
I was
This is
living alone.
not bullying Himanshu podcast. So,
But I mean,
yeah.
Bombay has that. I mean, I know what you're talking about. But my question is, how do you feel? I mean, being in Bangalore, and being in this industry, there is always that thinking, oh, I'm not in Bombay. Do you have that feeling? Like, do you get that too?
No.
No?
I'll tell you why. Because I when I was in school in class 8 and 9, I picked up photography, and then I started making movies in class 10. So even in my school days, I have like 3 to 4 short films and a documentary. And then I came to Pune to study filmmaking. I never had the agenda to make commercial movies, like get into the rat race and start working for like assisting people or making films for someone else. I always came to learn how to make proper movies. And when I came back to Guwahati, what happened is I eventually started getting some work. Like I made some music videos, then some ads, and now I've started my own studio. I find that to be my journey. Like I anyway would have had to come back here. I have a family business here. Doing my own thing, it gives me the satisfaction anyway. And the way I see it as is, the films that I make and the films that I write are things that I would have made anyway. Like they are my filmography. I'm proud of them, and I don't have to be in Mumbai to make it. And even if I had a lot of money, I would have still made it this way. They're very particular. I'm very particular about the movies that I make. I know it looks like I'm not because of the shaky cam and the bad quality, but that's because I don't have that kind of money. But even if I had a lot of better money, like a big budget, I would have still made similar like choices.
Yeah. But I think what you're saying about, being your own journey is so true, because I think, there's a lot of anxiety associated with career and building your career, and, how it's supposed to look. But that's the thing, that sometimes it feels like they're templates of, okay, this is how it has to happen. And, you move to Bombay, then you struggle a little bit, and then some, whatever. But you're right. I think everyone is sort of has their own journey, especially when you have the clarity of the kind of films you want to be making. I don't think, I mean, in that case, if you know that you're going to be making independent films, I don't think that sort of ties you down to being in
Movies Mumbai में थोड़ी बनती है, like
yeah,
कहीं भी बनती है. If you have a camera and a mic,
yeah.
you can make a movie. And I'm telling you, I have a camera and a mic. I'm very ready. I have a script also. If I had actors, I would make a movie tomorrow, but I don't. The problem comes with casting only, because you can't. You really have to. You really need to cast well. Otherwise, there's no point. And the way you casted with your movie, na, it's very bang on. Especially the character of the head stylist, because you chose a character from the Northeast, right? And I don't know if it was like a selection, like you went for that, or if it was in the script, or I don't know how you got that.
I'd actually very consciously written that into the script, because if you see in the film, there are a lot of different languages, and I think in a city like Bangalore, you really experience that. It's very frustrating because you don't really see that in mainstream cinema, because everyone's always talking in Hindi, right? But like especially in a city like Bangalore, nobody talk. I mean, it switches. Like I'll be talking to somebody in one language, and I'll turn around and talk to somebody else in another language, and those switches are constantly happening. And people come from all over the country. People are so different, and in public spaces like salon, for example, that interaction actually happens. And for me, it was really interesting to see that, in her, when she's sort of in her head, she's talking in one language. When she's talking to him, because of the kind of space it is, they're talking in English. If it was an other kind of salon, they would have been talking in Hindi. When he's talking to the other stylist, they're talking in Mizo. So it's like I very consciously wrote those things in. And yeah, I think it's
You got the right cast. Like then you casted you wrote this thing in, right? And then you guys got this. That's, I think, more difficult, because if you had got the actor first and then you wrote it in, that is actually easier.
Yeah, that's true. So I wrote everything in English, because I think in English and I write in English. And then I got my actors to sort of take the whatever the intention or meaning of whatever that was, and say it however they would say it conversationally with whomever they're speaking to. So that's how those bits worked out. But yeah, casting is a hard one. I think it's a difficult part of the process, especially because I think when you work with non-actors, especially, you don't really know how they will be in front of the camera, but sometimes it can really be quite magical to work with non-actors.
Yeah, I mean, you could call it magic sometimes, because we have Himanshu and I in fact worked with non-actors for an entire film, for like a feature, which is as yet unreleased.
Sure.
But that's a film that Himanshu and I made in Bombay. It's not released yet. It's not out there. We have the trailer on our channel, by the way.
Okay,
It's been
Yeah,
it's been 5 years, okay, and it's
yeah.
edited and it's ready. We just don't have the guts to put
We
it.
don't have the guts to put it out there. Yeah,
if you did put it out, how would you put it out?
we don't know.
We don't
yet.
know.
No, so what I
don't
did
really know.
is what I did is I edited it into 5 episodes of 15 minutes. So it's now like a series. But then Aditya doesn't like the idea.
Yeah.
So we are kind of
No,
struggling
if
to.
it has to go out, it has to go out as a full thing. It's not a series.
But even
Anyway.
if it's a series, what's the benefit of making a series?
Then you can put it out on the channel.
I think you can put it out on the channel anyway, but
You can anyway,
अरे
you
एक
can put it
घंटे
on-
का एक
Acha,
घंटे की
chat,
मूवी
whatever 13 people are here, please tell us if you
यार
I mean,
एक
obviously
घंटे
this
की
will be
मूवी
nice and they'll be like, yeah, please. Sure. Yeah, anyway. But yeah, we should put that out soon, Himanshu. I think now that we've
this
spoken
year
about
na
it.
this year
Ah.
for sure, because there's a period in this year where Aditya will be busy and Bharat I think is always busy.
I am right now
So
also busy, fucker.
no, but there's a
But
time when
yeah.
you will be genuinely out of station
Oh
or
yeah,
for a
that's
while.
true. Huh.
So I'm thinking if we can put it out during that time, November-ish, I think.
Sure.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Thank you, Nitya, for sparking this
Yeah.
awkward ass fucking weird conversation that we haven't been approaching since. a
Yeah,
very
but I
long time.
wanted to sort of ask Nitya, because this is something that I was interested in knowing. That, I mean, also jumping off of what you both said, Himanshu and Nitya, कि living in Mumbai, you get the idea that हाँ जो भी है यही है. This is where everything's happening. This is where films are made. This is where everything happens in terms of films. So, and I want to know from you, Nitya, कि is that also parallelly true for Bangalore? Is there like a active industry? Because I know in Guwahati, where Himanshu is, it's quite limited. Even though there is an industry, there is an Assamese language film industry, but it's not near the kind of scale that you have in Mumbai, and I would assume even in Bombay. So is that true for Mumbai? Bangalore? Is there an active film scene or media scene in Bangalore, and how is it?
No, it's absolutely there. It's just that it's may not be at the volume and the scale that it is in Bombay. Also, I actually haven't. Although, like when I was working with the production house, I was working out of Bangalore. We were based in Bangalore, but most of the shoots didn't ever happen in Bangalore.
Oh, okay.
So I've mostly shot, like we used to come to Bombay to shoot and all that. We just would do pre-production and most of the stuff here, or we shoot wherever the location was. So Bangalore has a slightly the volume of work is less. So then that affects things like equipment charges, for example, right? Because the demand is less, like the equipment rentals are more expensive and those kind of things. It's not, and also the Kannada film industry is not as it's not on par with like the Tamil language film industry or Malayalam. It's not over there at all, or even Telugu film industry.
So there has never been like sort of an inclination or push or pull towards that industry.
I don't know. I no.
Okay, cool.
Nice. That's good clarity on that. Yeah. Well, unless there is something else that you want to touch upon, Bharat or Himanshu, or even Nitya, if there's something from the.
Okay.
Did he free?
Yeah, he froze. How many people are watching? 14. Dude, Shreyas Korad was in this.
Touch upon you know. If not,
oh
then
my
we will
God,
move to
who's
the
that?
recommend. Shreyas Korad is our senior from college.
Yeah, he was in the chat, I think, a while back.
Damn, we should get more ex-college people on the podcast. No, I think.
अरे
I
मैं
think,
तो बोल रहा हूँ अपने प्रोफेसर्स को लाते हैं यार.
नहीं, नहीं.
क्या नहीं क्यों?
Which one? Which one?
Arey
do you
yaar,
want?
we can call.
You know how interesting it is for, I mean, I know we were slipping into it a little because it's really unavoidable to start talking about college and all of this. But I mean, I've been a part of other people's college conversation. I'm like, please stop talking about it.
That's why we have 14 people only today.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we are actually a big time podcast now. We get like what 35, 40? Huh? Like
Last time we had 40, yeah.
we had
That's
40.
crazy.
When we were talking about
Segal's episode.
no balls, we didn't get anything from that. But from the dude, the RRR one has blown up, by the
Really?
way. Blown up
Okay.
by our standards. It's like 1K plus. But yeah.
But
Yeah, but whenever we talk about like the film that is trending like today, that's when we get like, for example, Kashmir Files, we got a lot of stuff, and Geraiya also, and you're shitting on it. We got a lot of
so you know what to do if you want.
yeah.
yeah.
I actually met, I didn't say this on the podcast, but I met the writer of Geraiya at a holy party. And then I told him, I was very drunk. I told him that we did a podcast and I kind of shat on it and all that. So yeah.
And he was
And-
sporting, right? I believe.
I mean, he was sporting, but I also at the same time I invited
He
him
was
to
like,
the
come to my
podcast.
yacht. He must have been, आजा तेरे को yacht लेके चलता हूँ. फिर
Yeah.
धक्का मार देगा ऊपर से.
Correct. So I actually invited him to the podcast. You know, I didn't text him again. I don't think he's gonna come. But yeah. Anyway, we can take actually some comments here, right? Shreyas had also commented, other people had also commented. Jibin had said, what is the best approach to make a short? Starting on an idea or on characters? Nitya, you want to take this first?
Oh, that's a good one.
Hmm.
For me, it's largely been situations, you know, more than just characters or just a concept. It's been like, okay, what if like two people are very different are stuck in one space? You know, that's the situation. So I think for me, it's that.
What about you guys, Bharat?
I kind of agree. I mean, that's how I also think. Especially with shorts, because you're limited in certain sense, right? So even the short film that I'm doing or want to make is a what if situation kind of a thing. You guys know what I'm talking about, but I don't want to.
Right.
I think
No, same.
idea here. If you have to choose between idea and character, because I always, from whatever little I've written or made, I feel like the idea has to be solid and I need to have an end. अगर ending नहीं है तो फिर नहीं है, like no, then there's no point to, if it's an open-ended thing or whatever there is, you haven't thought of it properly, or if there's no proper conclusion, I don't know.
I have not thought about the end of my short film.
No, like not like it's not a climax like how Nitya's end. Like she leaves, right? It's about how she enters and then she leaves. That's the start and the end. Na? That's a good start and end. It has a climax. I mean, conclusion.
That's the situation, you know, because these two people are in this space for this reason. That's the situation, and so that automatically gives you an opening,
a ticking clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Aditya? Oh,
no, for me, for me, like character is like critical for a short. If I'm writing something, it's pretty much the character that gets me. The idea is, I mean, I have lots of ideas, so that comes a little bit secondary to me, honestly, because if I'm doing a short for like 10 minutes, if I want to tell the story of this guy or this person, you know, and this is the person that I want to stick with for 5 or 10 minutes, and this is something that that person should come across to the viewer, that what this person is about. So to me, that is, in fact, the short that I'm writing right now as well is completely about a specific type of person. So for me, that is fundamental for a short. Like, I mean, obviously for a feature or something, it becomes much broader, but or even for the web series and stuff that we write. But for something like this, a character is almost in it, at least for this type of stuff I want to make, which is I want to do thoda sa eccentric kind of stuff, so the characters automatically also become like that. So yeah, that. Anyway, we can go to some more stuff. Oh, one of my friends, Snigdha, is in the chat. She said favorite podcast. I think this is the first time she's here. Hey Bharat, thanks for making Bravehearts. That's one of your co-writers, Bharat Chiranjeevi.
Oh wow.
He's commented. So
I'm sure he's being sarcastic. Anyway.
Avnish, which is another one of Bharat's friends, has commented, making an imagination to a reality is always hard work. For me, short films are like putting a lot in a little, and that's tough to present the idea. I think we won't argue that.
Yeah.
Shreya says,
shall we move on to recommendations unless we have it?
Unless we want to read every comment. But yeah, anyway, recommendations. So Nitya, we do like at the end of, I don't know if you've heard any one of our podcasts before this, but okay, thank you. So we do like a recommendation at the very end, which could be a film, show, movie, book, anything, music.
Anything that you've consumed lately or whatever.
Yeah, that you like. You can think about it if you want, and we can go around. So Bharat.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I haven't watched.
Acha, by the way, someone's saying that we should get Arvind Iyer is saying we should get our profs, because actually I would only like to get Ajit Dwara, to be very honest. Ajit Dwara is the only one I would like to speak to.
I want Ashish
Kulkarni.
Ashish Kulkarni. Oh yeah. I'll be too intimidated.
Hey, whatever happened to Akshay Vajpayee and all that? We don't know. You guys have no clue, right?
I don't know. I have no clue.
Anyway, leave that.
Yeah.
I'm watching. I'm in the middle of this Hindi show called Guilty Minds on Amazon Prime. It's about the shenanigans of these 4 or 5 lawyers, and it's, I think, written and directed by the daughter of Shanti Bhushan. And yeah, she's a filmmaker, and she's done a beautiful job at the court case aspect.
The whole family is only law kya? और कोई काम नहीं करने का life में.
So I mean, it's very, very interesting. It's a little like when it goes into those very typical tropes of a drama show based around a universe. It sort of falters, in my opinion. Like when it goes into the interpersonal dynamics and all of that, becomes very, very predictable. But when it is tackling the cases, I would say just watch the show for the ingenuity of the cases. For example, one of the cases is about this young boy who has killed a cabbie, right? But there are layers to it, which is that he was wearing these 3D game goggles where he'd given himself a challenge to kill a person in a certain way to get some points. So the legal complexity is there. Do you involve the gaming company into this, and how was he can you blame the video game company for this? And there's a lot of like speculation around that. So that's just one example.
There is also a South Park episode with this very similar plot line. But yeah, anyway.
Okay.
That's interesting. It sounds like a Black Mirror thing.
Yeah, that one episode is, but there's a lot of similarly intriguing cases. So yeah, Guilty Minds.
Okay, Himanshu, your recommendation?
I don't have any proper one. I'm waiting for Nope to come out, which is going to happen in...
देखा थोड़ी ना तूने, तो चल ठीक है.
हाँ, चलो ठीक है, छोड़ो.
नहीं, but what is now? Tell ना.
I watched this one, yeah. Another show on OTT. It's called, I think it's called Breaking News or something around that. Broken News.
Yeah. The Sonali Bendre one.
Yeah, and it's good. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah,
it's very interesting. It's like, NDTV versus Republic.
Oh.
And English channel versus Hindi channel. Like it has a lot of, and they're covering the same news, but like one is biased, one is not biased. Whatever, they have their own agendas, and they have, the Republic one kind of has a lot of money, so they're changing the narrative. So whatever, it has its
right.
It's interesting though. Something like this made in India.
Yeah.
I think Sony Live is one of these.
Okay, you can Broken News. All right, so that is Himanshu's. Nitya, are you ready with your recommendation?
Yeah, I'm gonna recommend a book because I just realized I actually don't watch too much stuff. At least recently, I haven't been watching anything. But I've been reading this book called A Swim in the Pond in the Rain It's by George Saunders, who is an author, but he also teaches writing. And he has a newsletter, really good newsletter. Anyone who is writing should read it. He sort of does a format of short stories, which I think again is interesting because if you're writing short films too, there are a lot of interesting techniques and things to take away from that. So in this book, he basically, I think he does like 4 or 5 Russian short stories, translations of Russian short stories, and he analyzes them. And the way he analyzes them is so cool because, it's like one of those things you wish you were sitting in his classroom. It's really a very joyful learning experience. So really recommend that if you're a writer or even if you're not a writer.
So can you just repeat the name? George Saunders. The book is
A
called
swim in the pond, a swim in a pond in the rain.
Great. All right. My recommendation is actually also a book, also a collection of short stories. It's called Acid House. It's by Irvine Welsh. Irvine Welsh, you guys will know as the guy who wrote the book, and I don't know if he wrote the screenplay, but he wrote the book Train Spotting. And this was his second book. Basically, it's a collection of short stories, and it has a novella at the end as well. It's, if you guys are familiar with Train Spotting, it's a very similar sort of style. All the short stories are very, very edgy, very dark, and like super depressing. Actually, all trigger warnings apply for pretty much every line of this, so don't read it if you're like going to be, if you're easily bothered, don't read this stuff, because it's very it's written in that, that style of writing which we could call like the Khushwant Singh style of writing, in a sense, which is the very edgy male approach to the world, and the very caustic approach to the world, a very male perspective. Irvine Welsh does that, but there is a surprising amount of empathy and a surprising amount of understanding of the world and maturity in his writing, which is kind of deceiving because the style is so, very pulpy and very, very, for the lack of a better word, a very cheap form of writing. And talking about very raw stuff, a very not really bothering about what is good to say or not, but at the same time there is a lot of empathy in the word. So I would highly recommend the Acid House. Some of the stories are really they're all around morality a little bit and around excess. So almost every short story's character is either a junkie or like somebody who's just backpacking across Europe and just doing all sorts of drugs, or like a criminal, or a sort of street criminal or something like that. So if you like reading that sort of stuff, I would highly recommend this book, The Acid House. All right, so with that, we've come to the conclusion of episode 77. Thank you so much for joining us, Nitya. This was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was nice catching up and talking about films.
Thanks a lot.
Yes, and please do share your newsletter and everything. We will put it in the description of the video. So once you're done listening to this episode, please check out the description. It'll have Nitya's whatever work that Nitya wants to share. We can sort of put it over there. Her music and her newsletter, of course. At the same time, if you'd like to support us, do subscribe to the channel, like the video. Also, please, if you'd like to support us, if you'd like us to continue what we're doing, and if you can afford it, please support us on our Buy Me a Coffee page or using the join button in the description, in the YouTube description. So and if you do that, you get to be a part of our DissContent WhatsApp group, where we discuss movies pretty much all the time and have a lot of intense debates often on stuff, and that group is always buzzing. So if you'd like to join that, please become a member. So yeah, thank you guys for joining. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.